A battery pack was cut, ground, hammered, and pried open on a live stream for nearly 8 hours, and it still would not burn. This was BYD's Blade 2.0, a pack built to make electric cars safer and cheaper. Under abuse, it looked almost unbeatable. But the teardown exposed another problem hiding inside the strength. If a battery can survive this much punishment, what happens when a repair shop actually needs to take it apart? BYD did not build its Blade battery as a niche experiment. It became one of the company's main weapons in the electric vehicle market: safer chemistry, tighter packaging, and lower cost per car. The original Blade already had a strong reputation because it used lithium iron phosphate cells in a long, thin format. That chemistry is less energy dense than some nickel-based batteries, but it is cheaper, more stable, and better suited for mass-market cars where price matters as much as range. Blade 2.0 pushes that idea further. Instead of treating cells, modules, and pack structure as separate layers, BYD leans harder into cell-to-pack design. The cells are not just stored inside the pack, they help become the pack. That is why this teardown attracted so much attention. It was not just about seeing whether the battery could survive abuse. It was a rare look at how far a manufacturer can integrate a battery when the goals are high volume, low cost, and maximum space efficiency. The trade-off is that every saved bracket, module wall, and service gap can make the pack harder to inspect, separate, or repair later. And the first number that made the design feel real was simple: 170 cells. 170 Blade-style cells means the inside of the pack is not arranged like a drawer full of small battery boxes. It is closer to a tightly packed stack of long, flat energy bars, each one stretching across a large section of the enclosure. These cells use lithium iron phosphate chemistry, but the important part here is the shape. A Blade cell is long and thin so it can span more of the pack by itself. That reduces the need to first bundle cells into separate modules, then bolt those modules into a larger case. In an older cell module pack layout, the structure has more layers. Cells sit inside modules. Modules have their own frames, covers, cooling interfaces, and connection points. Then the full battery pack has another shell around all of it. That can add weight and take up space, but it also creates natural sections a technician can identify, remove, or replace. A cell-to-pack layout removes much of that middle architecture. The cells sit more directly inside the main pack structure, sharing space with cooling plates, buzz bars, insulation, sensors, and compression hardware. That is why the design is efficient on paper. Fewer module parts mean better packaging and potentially lower manufacturing cost. But the same integration also removes convenient boundaries. When the pack is opened later, there are fewer obvious places where one system ends and another begins. Then came the detail that changed how people read the teardown. According to follow-up reporting, the pack was put through an approximately 40-hour freezing process before anyone seriously began dismantling it. That matters because freezing is not a normal first step when a battery pack is designed to come apart cleanly. If a technician is mainly dealing with bolts, covers, and connectors, cold temperatures are not the headline. But when the pack is held together with heavy structural adhesive, temperature becomes a tool. Freezing can make some bonded materials more brittle, reducing their grip enough for cutting, prying, and separation to begin. This is where the online debate shifted. The freeze cycle suggested the team was not just opening a metal box. They were fighting a bonding strategy built into the pack itself. Adhesive does not simply hold parts in place during assembly. It can help cells, plates, and internal structures behave like one rigid mass under vibration, impact, and harsh conditions. So the same construction that may help the battery stay together on the road can become a problem at the end of its life. And even after roughly 40 hours in the cold, the teardown still reportedly took 8 hours. The reported teardown did not look like a clean workshop procedure. It looked like a fight with the pack itself. After the long freeze cycle, the team still had to use cutting tools, grinding wheels, saws, pry bars, and repeated hammering to separate sections that were bonded into the structure. That is why the 8-hour figure spread so quickly. This was not 8 hours spent carefully labeling connectors and removing modules one by one. Reports described a process where specialists had to physically attack the pack to break through the adhesive and expose the internal layout. The striking part is what did not happen. Even after freezing, cutting, grinding, and impact, reports said the pack did not catch fire. For supporters of Blade battery technology, that detail reinforced one of BYD's central claims. The design is built to tolerate severe abuse without immediately turning into a thermal event. But for repair professionals, the same footage raised a different question. If a controlled teardown takes trained people 8 hours, what happens after a real crash? When the casing is bent, access points are blocked, and the vehicle is sitting in a busy repair environment. That is where the controversy landed. The pack's toughness may be excellent for safety, stiffness, and durability, but that same toughness can make inspection, repair, and recycling far more difficult than the brochure suggests. The adhesive is not just a sealant around the edges. In reports from the teardown, bonding material appeared to be part of the pack's basic architecture, tying cells, trays, covers, and structural sections into one rigid assembly. That choice makes sense on the production line. If cells can be bonded directly into a structural pack, the manufacturer can reduce brackets, bolts, module housings, and empty space. The pack can become thinner, stiffer, and more space-efficient, which helps vehicle packaging and may improve driving range without changing the chemistry. It can also help the pack behave as one solid unit. Strong bonding can reduce vibration, limit movement between cells, and spread loads through the structure during harsh road use or a crash. For a company building electric cars at massive scale, fewer loose parts and fewer assembly steps can also mean faster manufacturing and better consistency. The problem starts when that same pack leaves the factory. A bolted module can be opened, tested, removed, and replaced. A bonded cell group may require cutting, heating, solvents, mechanical force, or destructive separation before a technician can even confirm what failed. That changes the economics of damage. A small internal fault, coolant leak, or localized crash impact might not be treated as a small repair if the affected area cannot be accessed cleanly. The decision may shift from replacing a component to replacing a much larger assembly. So the adhesive problem is not that bonding is bad engineering, it is that excellent factory engineering can push labor, uncertainty, and cost downstream to repair shops, insurers, recyclers, and eventually owners. The 8-hour teardown revealed something important. The blade pack can be extremely hard to destroy without becoming an immediate fire hazard. That is a genuine safety win. In a violent disassembly, a weaker design might short, vent, or ignite when tools, force, and exposed conductors are involved. But fire resistance and repairability are separate measurements. A battery can survive abuse in a laboratory and still be expensive to deal with after a normal road accident. Safety asks whether the pack protects people when things go wrong. Repairability asks whether a damaged section can be diagnosed, isolated, removed, and replaced at a reasonable cost. That distinction matters because most owners will never see a teardown. They will see an insurance estimate after a curb strike, rear impact, coolant intrusion, or underbody hit. If the pack's internal layout prevents targeted access, The repair decision may jump directly to a full pack replacement even when only one region is suspect. For automakers, structural packs are attractive because they remove duplicate parts. The battery is no longer just cargo carried by the vehicle. It becomes part of the vehicle's body, helping stiffness, space efficiency, and manufacturing speed. Those are real engineering gains. The ownership question is who pays when that integrated structure is damaged. If the answer is a larger replacement instead of a precise repair, the hidden cost moves from the factory to the customer, the insurer, or the second-hand buyer. And this is bigger than BYD. The whole electric vehicle industry is moving toward more integrated batteries, fewer serviceable modules, and packs that are safer in a crash but harder to economically repair afterward. That is why the teardown triggered such a noisy reaction online. Critics argued that the 8-hour timeline made the pack look harder to dismantle than it really was. Some viewers said the team used methods that were too slow, too dramatic, or not representative of how a trained service center would approach the job. The teardown team pushed back with a follow-up technical explanation. They said the time was not just spent pulling parts apart. It included controlled access, safety checks, careful separation of bonded sections, and documentation of each layer. Their point was that an 8-hour dismantling process can be realistic when the goal is not to rip the pack open, but to expose it without creating a dangerous short circuit or damaging the evidence inside. They also addressed two details that had become talking points. The freezing step, according to their explanation, was used to make certain adhesive and structural materials easier to separate during analysis, and the reported finding of 170 cells was presented as part of the pack's internal architecture, not a casual guess from a quick visual inspection. This debate lands directly in the middle of BYD's larger strategy. BYD has become a global force by selling electric vehicles at prices many rivals struggle to match. Part of that advantage comes from vertical integration, high-volume manufacturing, and designing major components to work as one system instead of buying and assembling them as separate pieces. That can make the car cheaper to build and cheaper to buy. It can also make the battery less like a replaceable appliance and more like a sealed structural asset. So the next battery war may not be only about range, charging speed, or cost per kilowatt hour. It may be about who absorbs the bill when a deeply integrated pack is damaged: the automaker, the insurer, the repair network, or the owner. Blade 2.0 leaves us with a sharp contradiction. A pack that looks extremely hard to destroy, but also hard to repair when things go wrong. And that is the ownership question. If it takes hours to dismantle safely on a bench, what happens after a real crash? Thanks for watching. Comment below. Do safety and low cost justify reduced repairability?